Welcome to It's Tea Time. I'm your host, Aaron Taylor, this week filling in for Jonathan Sellers. We're going to look into some Trojan athletics, and joining me for this first segment, as always, Jeremy McClain, Director of Athletics. Jeremy, big weekend for Trojan sports. Had the home opener, and it's always good to start things at home off with a big win, and they did.
No doubt. Good weekend. For me, my first home football game, so a lot of fun in a lot of ways. And, I was just really impressed with the whole day. The tailgating atmosphere, Trojan walk, which I don't have a comparison, Mark, but everyone told me it was one of the best ones we've ever had. And then obviously the game itself, and I thought we played really well. Thought our guys came out ready to play. It was important that we started quick, and we did. We did two quick scores, and really took Charleston Southern out of what they like to do, and which is control the clock and run the ball. And so that was big, and all in all, it was a great day. It was a great opportunity for me. Like I said, I had a chance to meet a lot of people that still had not had a chance before this game. So all in all, a great weekend, and the grass is always a little greener on Monday after a home win. So
it's always easier to talk about it when there's a win
doubt.
involved there. So, but you talked about the atmosphere there, and that's one of the things that you haven't had a chance to experience that yet. But right off the bat, some amazing atmosphere pre-game and during the game itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I told the staff kind of going into the week, I really wanted to be in observation mode because it was my first time, but I wanted to see what we were doing well. And then also we're going to identify some areas where we can get better. And I do think there are some areas there. And I think our staff realizes that. And so it was good for me in a lot of ways, but I think we are doing a lot of things well. I think when you put a good product on the field, when you're winning ball games, that helps. But we've got to create the right type of atmosphere from the beginning of the day through the end of the game. And so we've got some opportunities to do that even better, I think.
Now, did you, being here in such a short amount of time, get a chance to get your hand on any of the planning, or was that everybody else besides you and you just kind of sat back and went along for the ride?
I was here long enough to offer some suggestions, and there are a few things we changed as we went into that game that I felt like were important. Even the week leading up to the game, I felt like there were some things that, just in my experience, that had worked well that we did. But it'll be more probably moving forward of me having an opportunity to have some input and like I said, do some things better. I think we're doing them well, but there's always room for improvement.
Always room for improvement. And obviously, one of those things that changed on Saturday that probably maybe a small little bit of something, but it was the expanded student section. And that a lot of people probably noticed that and noticed the fact that not only was it expanded, but it was full.
Yeah.
And that's got to be something, I guess, that adds to that game day atmosphere.
It does, and I was really impressed. I mean, that was something that we were excited about doing and giving our students the opportunity to have more space there. And just wanted to make sure they would fill it up, and they did. And it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun to see. Great atmosphere for them, and we got them right there, close to the visiting team's bench, and which is a neat atmosphere. And so excited about that. Really thankful for them for showing up and staying. And really, majority of that crowd stayed until the fourth quarter, and even as the game kind of the score kind of got out of hand a little bit, people stayed, and the student section, couldn't be prouder of what they did.
And you run that risk, especially in a game like that when the score runs up, to see people leaving the stands. But had a chance. I stayed through to the fourth quarter, and was, especially with the student section, that's one of those points of contention. Stuck around, and that kind of makes you feel a little bit proud that something's happening that's keeping people to stick around.
Yeah,
for that.
exactly. And Coach Brown challenged the student section at the pep rally to stay, to stay through the game, and they responded well. And I think he's going to have to fulfill a commitment he made to them in that regard. But we're excited about that. And if they keep filling that thing up, we'll find them some more room.
Find some more room. And
exactly.
Of course, and you mentioned there being right there behind the team bench. They used to not be just right at the edge of the team bench, but now they go all the way to that 50. And that gives a little bit, I guess, that home field advantage to have the most rowdy part of the crowd behind your opponents.
Sure, and we want to make sure we do that the right way, that we keep it clean.
Oh, yeah.
We have people kind of in that area to make sure that happens. But part of that environment is definitely being able to be close enough to the visiting team where they can hear you, and you can get on them a little bit. But we want to do it in the right way. But yeah, you're right. That's a new added piece to the atmosphere.
Yeah, be loud and be proud of
Exactly.
the Trojans out there.
Exactly.
Now, the game day, the atmosphere, talk about the pregame, a lot of festivities, a lot of activities. Talked about the Trojan Walk, and obviously, as you were told, that probably one of the biggest and best Trojan Walks there was. Is that the kind of things that you're looking to maybe see improvements to, maybe make some changes to, or does that look like it's doing okay as is? So
I think that piece was really good. Can we do it better? Yeah, I think we can. I think the tailgating piece is really good. I think we can do it better. So I think really that the day leading up to the game is so important.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the experience of it all. That's what we want to try to focus on. Is we'll let the coaches and the players worry about the game and putting on a good show out there. But us as a department, we need to make sure that we're providing people with an opportunity to have a great experience throughout the day, not just at the game.
Yeah, and of course, a couple of weeks to fine tune that experience and work on it, since there'll be a road game and an away game, and then we come back for a very, very, very important home game after all this. We go to Wisconsin, open week, but then we've got our conference opener against South Alabama.
Right. That'll be
the in-state rival.
It'll be a big one in a lot of ways. Obviously, it'll be the first game back after a road game, like you said, a bye week, and then and it'll be big because it's the first conference game. It'll be the conference opener. It'll really set the tone for the rest of our season as we move into conference play. And obviously, with it being South Alabama, that's enough said there too from a rivalry standpoint. And so I would challenge our students, to definitely we got to circle that one on the calendar. And show up in full force and stay the whole time, and then our community too. Just rally around this team, and home field advantage is a great thing, but it really only comes into play if you pack that stadium and make it loud and make it tough for the visitors.
You go there, and of course, you're talking about the rebuild the wall. That's one of those integral bricks. Especially, Neil Brown talked about returning to the glory days. Conference titles. That's all he knows. When he first showed up, he said, "All I know is winning Sun Belt Conference titles around here." So that first game will be an integral part of making that happen.
It will be, like I said, for many reasons. To get off to a quick start, rivalry game. Your neighbor who you're recruiting against on a regular basis. All those things come into play, but really just setting the tone for our team, our fan base, and the whole department as we move into conference play.
And speaking of department, we'll drift away from football for a little bit and talk about how you're getting settled in. Obviously, you've been here for a little bit now and still making some adjustments.
Sure.
Talk a little about what you're doing now and how you're fitting in and settling things department-wise in athletic department.
Yeah, let's see. This I guess it's been 2 full weeks now, and so I've tried to focus the first 2 weeks on at least kind of during the day meeting one-on-one with our staff and our coaches. And so I've spent an hour at a time one-on-one with those groups, and listening to our coaches, what our strengths and weaknesses are, where they think we've got some challenges. So really trying to familiarize myself as much as I can with what's going on around the department. And so I think that's been helpful for me. It's gave me a good base to work from, and then also we've been spending time with donors and meeting as many people in the community as well. And we'll kind of shift gears into more of that over the next week or so. And so that's kind of where my energy's been focused, and I think that's been beneficial for me, like I said, to give me a good base to work from.
You talk about shifting that gears. Obviously, you mentioned that one of the magic words there, the donors, making your way there. You came in here with a development background. How crucial is it for you to get on the ground running to get that part of your job in motion there?
Yeah, it is. And so when I say I took some time to meet with our coaches one-on-one, that's saying a lot because I delayed getting in front of some of our donors, but I thought strategically it was the best thing for us to do. But it's very important. I mean, not only the people here in Troy and in our community, and I've had an opportunity at events to meet a lot of people, football games, some fundraising stuff we've done. So I've had a great opportunity at those various events. But sitting down with those donors one-on-one is going to be key, and all the supporters, not only our donors, but people who maybe were once part of the program and aren't now, or who have the opportunity and some type of desire to be a part. We want to visit with all those people, and so that'll be a big focus for us moving forward. Is sitting down with them one-on-one, making sure they understand, they know our story, and giving them an opportunity and asking them to be a part of what we're doing.
Well, here's hoping that you can make that transition in a timely manner and maybe see some of the things that you've talked about in your plans, like, let's say, the North End Zone project come to fruition as we're talking about going back to football again. But a lot of those goals you can live up to in trying to get out there and working that part of the job.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously the North End Zone is a big piece of that. We're going to keep that moving forward as I promised, and we're making progress already in the past couple of weeks. And so that'll be front burner for us. We'll have a lot of discussion with people one-on-one about that, and we'll continue to push that timeline as hard as we can.
Business with pleasure. Exactly. Obviously, watching the games, making sure that all of that goes smoothly and works out for everybody out there.
No doubt.
So, well, thanks for joining us for It's Tea Time, and looking forward to hearing from you next week. Talk a little more about what's going on in Trojan athletics.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeremy. And stay tuned for a little bit more of what's going on in Trojan athletics. For more, It's Tea Time. Welcome back to It's Tea Time. We'll be talking a little cross country with Elliott Blount. Talk a little about what you guys did this past weekend. Had an opportunity to go to a conference foe and had a pretty good showing in your second appearance so far this season. Talk about what y'all did past weekend.
We went down to Mobile to Azalea City Classic. South Alabama was the host school, and they're our conference foe, conference rival, and we were able to get two second place finishes. On the women's side, we were able to beat South, and on the men's, they won the competition, but we mixed it up with their mid-pack runners. They are pretty much the class right now of the conference. Coming off that conference win from last season. So for us to go out there and kind of just mix it up with a bunch of younger guys too, was very reassuring for the program, for the state of the program, and then gave the kids a lot of confidence as well. So we were happy with the results from this past weekend.
And of course, an improvement place-wise from week 1 to week 2. The men moved up a spot, but the women went from a 5th place to a 2nd place finish. I guess it's got to be pretty good confidence builder, especially for the women's side there.
Absolutely. The women were jacked up. We had a few top 10 finishes in there. When we packed up really well. So for us to jump from a 5th place finish, in a larger field into a 2nd place finish in a little bit of a smaller field, but probably a more competitive field, was very, very reassuring for the girls. The guys, I think we have a good chance to make a huge jump. We were last in the conference, last year. So I think with the infusion of young talent, we keep competing the way we are, we'll see some pretty good improvement across the board.
And of course, it's got to be good to go head-to-head with some conference competition, especially the folks right down the road this early on in the season, just to see how you match up.
Oh, yeah, you always want to beat, you want to be the baddest kid on the block is what I call it, and these guys at South, they're very, very competitive, and that's why I love competing against them, because it makes us, raise our level of competition, and that's what you need. Facing off with them in mid-season, using them as a measuring stick, kind of seeing where we're at, as we move along and get into some more of these competitive championship meets. It's always good. So we're on the right track. We just got to stay healthy right now. We have about a week or two left of what I like to call like the grind phase of the training right now before we start lightening up and sharpening. So, facing those guys, mid season is always good for us.
And of course, for the women to actually top them at this point, that's got to be even better. Thinking about down the road for conference competition.
If we can beat them at a conference meet, obviously, they were a little banged up. We were, underwomaned or undermanned, so to speak. But they're tough, we were able to get away with a victory, but they're not gonna, hand us anything. We're gonna have to take it like we did 2 weeks ago. So if we can do it again in a month and a half or so, just under a month and a half, then that'd be great. But whenever you can beat a conference pro, especially being South,
you can do that.
Yeah, we're happy.
Let's talk about coming up this weekend. You're making your first trip out of the state of Alabama for a meet. Talk about where you're going this weekend.
We're leaving the nest, We're heading out to the University of Florida for the Mountain Dew Classic. A lot of SEC opponents. I think South is going to show up there. They're scheduled to show up there as well. So we'll see how that turns out. I think seeing a higher caliber of competition before we go into some of these championship meets is always good for us. SEC is obviously a very strong and competitive conference, nationally, and we're looking to to be on par with that, in years to come. So it's good for our freshmen to go out there and kind of mix it up with, some of these guys that they maybe raced in high school or even admired in high school, and now we have a chance to kind of get out there and show them what we're about. So
all right, well, good luck when you head to Florida this weekend, and good luck as you prepare for those conference meets coming up in the future. Thanks for joining us. And stay tuned for what's happening coming up in It's Tea Time. Welcome back to It's Tea Time. We'll be talking a little men's golf with head coach Matt Terry. Matt, the men started their season this past weekend. Tell us a little bit about how you felt about the team's opening performance.
It was just okay. It was our first event of the fall with a new kind of crew, new team. So, we had to have some basis to start practicing and really getting after it, and, just basically seeing how this team's going to evolve. A lot of those guys had good summers. Didn't get off the start we wanted to. After the first round, we were in 8th place. Got to 4th, which wasn't bad. 10 shots out of the lead. Didn't respond very well at the start of our event, at the start of the day, the 3rd day, and fell to 7th. But at the end of the day, we didn't finish last. We didn't finish first. So we've got something in there to work on and work with. Had a really good meeting Sunday night with the guys, and they had a good day of practice yesterday. And we'll see where that carries over the next 2 weeks before we leave for our next event. And
you've got a little bit of time between your first and your second there. Mm-hmm. So is that good, bad? Does it give the players some time to think about, to work on, to fine tune some things?
Yeah, it does. Either way, it's a good. It's a good thing if we were playing. Getting them right back in the saddle, or having these 2 weeks to compete a little bit against each other again before we leave. Definitely, they got time to clean things up and try to improve because with golfers, you're constantly trying to get better. You're tweaking things at all points in times. Everybody sees TV and sees the tour players always wanting to tweak and get better and better. And you're like, look, dude, you just won. But you got to continue to evolve because the bad's going to come. It's going to happen. And, we've just got to continue to try to get better.
And now this year you've got some returners, and you've got some new players in there. Obviously, every season you're going to deal with that. But how is working with the team chemistry of having some of these more experienced players that have had some experience with some success with the new guys on the squad?
It's good. These guys get along great. The camaraderie is very, very good. No bumps or bruises there. New guys filling in nicely. We got a couple of red shirts that played right away that redshirted last year, a couple of redshirt juniors, and I was really pleased with some of the things I saw out of both those guys. I know, Cam Norman from Greenville, he played well for 2 rounds and had himself a chance to win a tournament individually, and that was a very good showing for him. Didn't play as well as he wanted to the last day, but get a top 10 finish your first Division I event on a really, really difficult golf course at Kiowa. Showed me something out of him, and we saw some good 2 rounds out of Clay Vanoy to start his year. Didn't play as well as he wanted to the last day. Conversely, you got a guy like Luke Moser, didn't play very good in the first round, but played good in the next 2. So we've got some things to work on, but I definitely feel like if these guys put it together, they're as good as anybody that we're going to see this year, and that that gives me optimism always. And as a coach, you see the talent level of what you have and what they can bring to the table.
And what does it mean to have someone in their first tournament do as well as you had happen this past weekend? And what does that mean for the team, and I guess for motivation for everyone to have somebody to look to say, hey, this was his first outing, and look what he was able to accomplish?
Well, it's just nice. He won our qualifier. We played 6 rounds on 6 different golf courses, and he was the low guy out of the 8. So it transferred straight to the tournament. And it doesn't take a genius to figure out he was low and he was playing the best before we left, and look what happened. So I think the guys can look at that and say, hey, look, if I can pick it up here, if we're all doing this, look what can happen. Because we got a couple of freshmen that have an opportunity to play well for us, and they've just all got to get comfortable together. And with us going so close, being in Destin, playing where we're going to play conference, our next event. I know the older guys we've met already and talked about it, and they're still in a way stinging from conference last year. The guys that played, and they want to prove a point, and they would like to do it early to the rest of the conference because we've got 10 of the 11 schools playing. App State's the only one not going to be there, and with Georgia Southern winning our first event that we played in, that's more motivation.
Yeah.
Things that I don't have to do, things that they're motivated by.
Naturally motivating there. So here's hoping that in 2 weeks, when they get a chance to get that first taste of where they'll be playing later, there'll be some good luck on the greens for the players there.
Awesome.
Thanks for joining us, and thank you for joining us for It's Tea Time. Stay tuned for more of what's going on in Trojan athletics. Welcome back to It's Tea Time. For this segment, we'll be talking a little soccer with Jason Hamilton, head coach. And Jason, not much to talk about this past weekend because you had a rare open weekend here in the middle of the season. But how do you handle having an off week in the middle of the season like this?
Yeah, it's pretty uncommon to have a bye week, like other sports would call it, in the middle of our season. So, trying to cram 20 to 25 games in 2.5 months, you don't really find an off weekend. So, we thought it was good for our team. It allowed us to get some extra fitness in. We have a big enough squad where we could play against each other on Saturday morning and still keep up that game fitness and see some things that we wanted to see. Have the other team be our scouting team to see what we're going to play against in the upcoming weekend. And then it was great to allow our ladies to enjoy the first home football game and go out there and support the other athletics. So it was kind of a good weekend for us to still get some things done and be productive, but then go out and support football.
And timing wise, it gives you kind of like a downtime before conference play right around the corner. You've obviously got another non-conference series. We'll talk about that, but the timing wise, maybe get you a chance to get a little bit of rest before you've got to get into the meat of that conference schedule. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the players who've played a lot of minutes, we allowed them to get a little bit of a rest, and then some players who didn't play a lot, we got to give them an opportunity to get out there and play and see where they're going to fit in, change a few things up, and kind of allow us to go into this weekend with a good game plan to use this weekend, these last 2 games, as a good preparation for our conference to start.
And now talk about this weekend. You got 2 games, making a trip, fairly short trip up the road to Tennessee, the Nashville area for a pair of games. Let's talk about what you've got going on this weekend. So.
Yeah, well, Friday night we'll play Tennessee Tech, who is kind of on a little streak here. Their second-year coach is up there, Steve, and I know Steve well. He's going to do a good job with that team, and I think they beat Alabama and haven't lost since then. So they're I think 2 wins and 2 ties in their last 4 games. So they're kind of putting things together there and kind of peaking at the right time before they go into conference. So it's going to be a good game for us. They just tied Georgia State, who's in our conference. So it's going to be a good game for us to prepare ourselves for our conference, because they'll be a very, very similar team to the level that we'll see in our conference. So we're excited about that game. It's going to be a good battle on the road. Where last year we struggled a little bit on the road. So for us to go on the road, play against a good opponent, and kind of see where we're at is going to be good for us to see where we need to be moving forward. And then Sunday, turn around and play Belmont, who also plays Georgia State on Friday night. So again, get to see what they do against Georgia State, and then we'll see how we handle them on Sunday. So it's always tough to be on the road, traveling, staying in hotels, and kind of trying to figure out the best way to manage everybody throughout the weekend. So we're excited to have 2 games, make some changes this past week and a half that we've been off, go out there and see how we execute those changes that we've made leading up to that first conference game a week later.
And it sounds like the Tennessee Tech game, fairly good barometer of level of you've played some common opponents. Alabama, there you've got an opportunity to play, the conference foes. You talked about it earlier. So is it good to have a team like that on the schedule here at this last warm up that you got going on?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you don't want to go into to that final weekend playing teams that might be too soft, and then beating them 4 or 5-0 and not really pushing yourself. But you also don't want to go into that weekend and play teams that you might lose to 3-4-0, because it's not going to build any confidence for your team. So to us, this is a really good weekend for the schedule for us. That it's a good test. But we also have the ability to come out on this weekend with 2 wins and have that confidence going in. But one way or the other, whatever the results may be, it's going to be good for us to go out there and play those opponents that are similar to our conference teams.
And of course, obviously, you don't want to think too far ahead, but you do obviously have the conference opener coming up the next weekend. And how important is that to get all this final preparation away in order to bring in a pretty big opponent to start your conference season? So
yeah, no, that's really important for us. We want to start this year on a positive note in the conference. Last year we didn't do as well as we wanted to. We started off with a loss in conference. I think we were 1-3 after the first 2 weekends of conference play last year. So we want to get a good start, being at home, having South Alabama on our turf, we want to make sure we get a good jump in the conference. Our ultimate goal is to finish in the top 2 like we did last year, to have a good seeding going into the conference tournament. So that, this weekend is very important for us to prepare those last final details for that conference game to start and get rolling in the right direction. And then, we're not looking too far ahead, but we know it's around the corner and we know it's a quick turnaround. We'll get home late Sunday night, and then we'll have, a couple short days there to prepare for South Alabama. We're super excited to have them at home for the first conference game. We know our fans are extremely supportive. We've already broken the attendance record once this year, and our goal is to do it again that game. We have 1,000 shirts to give away, and not having a football game that weekend, it's kind of a good weekend to come out and support us, and still wear your Trojan gear and support us at that game.
Obviously, and that was my next thought when this is the fan support. Obviously, they haven't had a chance to see you guys for a little while. You've been on the road, but so far the fan support has been amazing for you guys this season. So obviously, you want to carry that in to they can mark their calendar, not this weekend, but next weekend to come check you guys out.
Yeah, the 25th at 7 o'clock. The fans have been fantastic for us. They've made it a very difficult place for teams to come in and play. We haven't lost a game since I've been here at home, so I think we're on a 14-game home winning streak. So first conference game, 14-game home winning streak. There's a lot on the line for us, and we know that the fans are going to be extremely important in having success in that night.
Well, here's hoping you keep that streak alive. But first, got to head to Tennessee for that. Good luck in Tennessee, and then come back and start off that conference slate off with a big win against South Alabama. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us for this week's It's Tea Time. Join us again next week for more about Trojan Athletics.